today. The first speaker is Jason Oates. And Jason was a former special education student in Wake County. He graduated from Athens Drive High School in 1992, and he went on to college at Virginia Tech and received his Bachelor of Science degree in building construction in 1998. After college, Jason moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, where he worked in commercial construction, building high schools and other large buildings. Jason was married in 2000, and in 2002, he and his wife had their first child. In 2003, Jason and his family moved back to Raleigh, and he and his father formed Fusion Contractors, LLC, which completes projects in the residential and light commercial areas. Jason began coaching youth sports in 2006 and began a self-education process of becoming a lifelong learner. Jason created Whistle and a Clipboard in 2013 to provide learning opportunities for youth coaches while driving to and from work by listening to his podcast. Jason, his wife Laura, and their 3 children currently live in Cary. Please join me in welcoming Jason Oates.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate that. Yeah, like she was saying, I'm one of your former students, so it's pretty cool to be here today. There's specifically 2 teachers in my life that I wanted to thank. They may be here, they may not. Mary Williams Keel was my curriculum assistance teacher at Athens Drive, and she made a huge difference to me. You have to let me get to the beginning of this to begin with. She took the time out of what she was doing to make sure that I, succeeded. What really made a difference for me was what I saw her do for another student. There was a kid that was in my class, and he came from a lower income family, didn't have the support at home, but she took an amazing amount of time to make sure that he was in school, doing what he needed to do to graduate. And unfortunately, he didn't. He ended up dropping out. And, it wasn't because that she didn't try, but it was because that he just didn't have the support at home. But I saw how she took the time to care for him, and that made a huge difference for me. So the other teacher that made a huge difference was Ruth Cochran Steidinger. Some of y'all may know her. I call her Miss Cochran to this day still. I see her. We go to the same swim club. Our kids are on the same swim team. But she was the same kind of teacher. I could tell that she cared about me because she took the time to see me in the hall and say hello, or just do certain things outside of class, in class, that made me feel good about myself, which helped me to graduate from high school. So that's a little bit about the teachers. I'm going to tell you some more about me now. I grew up, I was born here, and I was born in Raleigh. I went to kindergarten at Francis Lacey. I then went to 1st through 4th grade at Montessori, but then I went to 5th grade at Brentwood, and I went to 6th grade at East Millbrook. I went to 7th and 8th grade at Martin, and then I graduated from Athens, so I've probably seen a lot of the schools that y'all teach at. I got to run the whole full gamut of lots of the schools. But my dyslexia, I'm dyslexic, was recognized in the 7th grade. My mom noticed that my knowledge was greater than what my grades were. I couldn't communicate well enough in writing my knowledge. I still can't spell to this day. It's good that there's spell checks and so that I can write this stuff down and not look like an idiot because I couldn't spell it right. But, so, 7th grade, I had this history teacher, and I'm sure you all have gotten to deal with some of the teachers. like this for your students. But she would not take off for spelling mistakes. So I never got above a C in her class, even though I knew the material. And so I went through the test. One of the things I remember about the test, or taking the test, was that the written part, I can remember specifically changing words on the test so that I could spell them right, so that I get a better grade, rather than just writing what I was thinking. So, and having to erase sentences and start over. So that's kind of, when it was recognized. And now I'm going to move on, and I actually was talking with my mother about this. I thought it was when I was applying to colleges that I had a guidance counselor who didn't understand. Interesting. It's never happened when I ran into it at home. So anyway, it was between my junior and senior year. I had done pretty well in high school already. And me, I wanted to take AP English. So Miss Williams, my mom asked Miss Williams about it, and she said, sure, let him do it. He wants to do it, let him do it. So I signed up, but for some reason I had to go to the guidance counselor to be able to take this class. And she told me I wasn't college material. To my face. I should have brought a picture of my diploma. But so anyway, all I remember is thinking, what? I've got like a 3+ GPA. I had a 1100 something on the PSAT. I'm not college material, really. And about that time, my mom ushered me out the room. I remember the door slamming, wall shaking. Probably wasn't appropriate what she said. So we're not going to say that. But anyway, just there was that. So, like she said, I graduated from Virginia Tech. But I applied to Georgia Tech, Clemson, and NC State. I got waitlisted at Georgia Tech and got into all the other 3 programs. I chose to go to Virginia Tech because a buddy of mine was going there, so I went and had fun. But my freshman year, I got to run through this stuff. I made the mistake of thinking that, hey, I got a 3+ GPA, I got a 1180 on the SAT when it was 1600. I don't need to be learning disabled designated anymore. I can do this. I don't need the help. I'm kind of stubborn. Just ask my wife. She's sitting right there. But I needed the help. I got a 1.7 my freshman year. Took 18 hours. It was silly. So anyway, I had to go to summer school, which was a blessing in disguise. I took some other classes and got my GPA back up. And if you take away that freshman year, I had about a 3.0 for the rest of my college career. So I was able to, with the accommodations, back then with the books on tape, those cassette recorders, not like we have today where I've got Audible on my phone, so I listen to books all the time. But just that. So today, I'm a husband first, I'm a father second. She was telling you about the construction company, Fusion Contractors. We collaborate with our clients. We collaborate with our clients to improve the form, function, and aesthetics of their property. She was telling you about Whistle and a Clipboard. It's my podcast where I try to enable excellence by empowering coaches through sharing knowledge and insight from professional coaches, trainers, and thought leaders. And then I'm also a youth sports coach. I coach something every season, sometimes 2 teams of the season. But that's enough about me. So I want to share some of my observations from growing up with dyslexia. I want to share, some observations from coaching 30+ seasons of kids over 8 years. And I also want to share some more observations from the 90+ interviews that I've done on Whistle and a Clipboard with professional coaches, trainers, thought leaders, authors, people like that. So the reason I use enabling excellence I guess turn the light on. Anyway, it doesn't really matter, it's pictures. But, as teachers and coaches, I think we all enable excellence. And I use the word enable purposefully because it's giving your power away to someone else. You're taking the power you have and enabling somebody else with it. People look at it as a bad word, I look at it as a great word. So, to kind of enable this excellence, I just want to ask a question. Has anybody read this book? You can't see it probably. It's called Start With Why, written by Simon Sinek. I highly recommend it. And what Simon talks about in there, wow, I skipped ahead. Let me back up. Sorry. So another thing, just backing up here. So anyway, leaders. There's a difference between this. We'll roll into there, but anyway, there's a difference between leaders and those who lead. You guys are all classified as leaders because you're in a position of power. But those who lead are people who inspire people to follow them, not because of what you do or your position, but because they want to. So I like to think about it as, I saw this analogy, it's a string, right? So I'll walk over here so everybody can see it, hopefully. But if you think about a leader versus those who lead, the leader's kind of down here at the bottom and all of us push. Well, what happens when we push? The string just kind of bunches up on itself. Then you don't get really any forward movement. But those who lead, those inspire people to follow them. As you move forward, everybody else moves forward with you. So think about that, about being inspirational to your students. So I think also everything we do in life starts from the inside out, and that's where this book, Start With Why, comes from. In it, Simon Sinek explains how great accomplishments throughout the world all come from having a great leader who thinks from the inside out, who communicates from the inside out. So in the book he explains, and again, some of y'all won't be able to see what I write, but it's good. They're short letters, I can spell them well. But he talks about the golden circle, right? So it's 3 concentric circles. And on the inside is your why. See, I told you I could spell it. The next one is how. And the last one is what. And our normal communication pattern is from the outside in, right? So he defines what is simple. It's what you do, okay? How is the process you do what you do, right? And your why is your cause, your purpose, or your belief. And if we communicate the other way, from the inside out, that's what great leaders do, inspirational leaders do. They communicate from their why. So the reason I bring this up is I want to know what your why is. Do you have a why? If you don't, or even if you do, after today when you go home, write it down. All right? Put it somewhere where you can see it. Think about it. Think about the way you do what you do and communicate through your why. I mean, if y'all are special education teachers, you've got to have a great why, So, but just rediscover it so you know where you're coming from. And then I want you to share it, all right? Is anybody here on Twitter? Some of y'all. Anyway, so use the hashtag Make a Difference. Put your why out there. Share it with others. Like my why is to enable excellence in youth. So that's why I started the podcast. It's another reason that I'm here. I offered to talk to the kids in your classes, and they asked me to do this. So if I can help one kid, then I've made a difference. Back to the why a little bit. In the book, Simon talks about Apple as just a company, and this will be just an example. But he says a normal computer company, their marketing message would be, we make great computers, they're beautifully designed, they're easy to use, want to buy them. Well, Apple, on the other hand, they communicate from the inside out. Their marketing message sounds something like this. In everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we do this is by creating products that are beautifully designed, easy to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? So that's kind of the way that I think about trying to communicate my messages from the inside out. Just thought I'd share that with you guys. So we talked about why, which I think is the big thing that everybody needs to have to work from. Now let's kind of move on to the hows. Some processes, some different ways that for me as a dyslexic student would have helped me learn quicker, learn better. I want to say faster, but that's kind of debatable in my own mind. But take a second, I want you to imagine that you grew up on a deserted island, didn't know civilization. You spend your days gathering and hunting to do your, to eat. And you're on your morning walk down the beach, and you see this shiny object. This one isn't that shiny, but it's shiny, and you pick it up off the ground, and you're looking at it, and you're looking at it, and you go, oh, you see light coming through the end. So you decide to take a look through it, and as you look, you see this narrow view of the beach ahead, and that narrow view, you go, oh, that's pretty cool. It allows me to see, very finite, close together things. So you take this telescope, you didn't know it was a telescope, but you use it that way for the rest of your life, because that's just how you look at it. So as a learning disabled student, that's how I looked at dyslexia throughout my life. So, well, up until more recently. But as a narrow lens, I looked at the weaknesses, what I couldn't do versus what I could do. So if we take it and turn it around, well, let me step back a little bit and give you the definition that's used by the National Institute of Child Health and Development and also the International Dyslexia Association. I couldn't remember this one, so I'm going to have to read it to you. But they say dyslexia is a specific learning disability that is neurological in origin. It is characterized by difficulties with accurate and or fluent word recognition and by poor spelling and decoding abilities. These difficulties typically result from a deficit in the phonological component of language that is often unexpected in relation to other cognitive abilities and the provisions of effective classroom instruction. Secondary consequences may include problems in reading comprehension and reduced reading experience that can impede the growth of vocabulary and background knowledge. So that's the National Institute. Which way are they looking? They're only looking at what you can't do, the weaknesses. They look through that narrow end of the telescope. Well, she mentioned I started a process in like 2011 or so of becoming a lifelong learner and just picking up books and reading again. Well, I was in Barnes & Noble looking for, maybe it would start with why, because I had listened to it on my phone and wanted to have it to read. And